check out the Patreon and gain access to all the source code. Hey, welcome back to another video in the series of creating our own Paragon system. So this is part 7 and let's get right into it. So first off, we want to create today the tab buttons so you can see them on the side, and then I will do everything I can to just put in the tabs so you start seeing some progression in this. So let's first make the tab buttons. So this will be, it's not the hardest to like make the tab buttons, luckily. So we'll do that fast. So let's get started. So here you write function Paragon System UI functions and create tab buttons. So this function will just create the tab buttons. So this will create our tab buttons, and we will do a loop here. So that will say for, and then down to for I equals and dot dot. Click enter. Now we have it. And here, what you gotta do here is type hashtag and then Paragon System dot data dot tab buttons tab menu buttons. Sorry, my bad. So what this does is the for I is normally what is called a loop in programming. A loop goes over, like if you give it a list, it will go over everything in that list, and then you can get data that way. So what we are doing here is that when you do the hashtag here, that means you get the size of the table. And as we did before, like in the last part, we made these two tabs. So these two tab buttons are made now. So when we call that, it will loop over these, and then we can get the data from it. So let's do that. So now we have the tab, or we are looping here. Now what we want to do here is just real simple. We will create local, and then we will create a few values or variables so we can get the data from it. So that should be order, name, and icon, since that's the values we will need. And then we need to unpack it. So unpack, and that would be Paragon System data tab buttons I, because that's the one we are at right now. So it gets the one we are at in the loop. So now we got that. Now let's make a local button and call it or set it equals to create frame colon, or not colon, sorry. And in here a button again, like before. And then you say order dot name. What we are doing here is we are just giving this button a name, and the way I like to do it is normally the order and then the name. That's just my preference. So it would be 1 and then name. You could also just do, let's do it another way. So let's call it name dot the double quotes tab menu. But now we know it's the core or defense underscore. Well, let's put it underscore like that. So now core underscore tab menu button or defense underscore tab menu. And now we want to like anchor it to the main frame, which is under or normal Paragon System.UI.frames.mainframe, and that's where it should be anchored to. And now, because we want to use something and a special template now, it's still something inside of WoW, which is called the spell book skill line tab template. This is, let me see if I can show you here. We'll quick go in game. So you see these. So this is the tab, the button, like the outline for it. So we did that now. We made the button. Now let's set the size. Set size. And I think we already, I don't remember if we added it over here. So no, we didn't. So let's add that to or config Paragon underscore tab button size equals to table, an empty table now. And what we want to do is width equals 32 and height equals 32 again. And we can then copy that, go back in here, say config dot and dot width and comma config dot height, like that. So now we have set the size and we have it in a value we can always just change. Now we want to set the point, btn set point, and since we want it in our menu, we want it over here, so we will write double quotes top right comma, and we want to anchor it to our frame or main frame, so the main frame here, comma top right again, and then comma 30 comma, and here is a little hack, I could say. So because we are doing a loop, we want to actually have an offset that it just can like go through, instead of us having to hard code, like write in a value for each tab menu. That's nothing for 2 tab menu buttons, but it's a lot if you need to, like, let's say 10, like that's a lot then. So what we're gonna do here is we go back into our core, and then we go back to our config, and now you make Paragon underscore tab menu button offset, and here all you really write, or sorry, you don't even need to like make a new table, that's my bad. You just set it equals to the offset you want. And for me, after testing, I know 50 is a good offset. So let's say 50, and let's make it. So now we have the offset here. So go back in here, make these. And what we're gonna do now is we gotta calculate it. How we do that? So what we're gonna do is config dot, and you put in the offset. So this would be 50 when the code reads it. And then you times it with I. And you times it with I because I, the index, will increase every time it reaches the end of the loop, it increases. So that means it will times with 1, well, that you know what that is. And then it will go to the second one, and then it will times with 2. And now you get the picture, like it moves it. So that's the way we do that. And the 30 here is just so it's like move to the side and matches with the window, just so everyone is understanding why I'm writing 30. Next is button.texture again. Now we need to set the button texture, and that's btn on colon create texture, like before. Now we'll create the texture. Next is button dot texture colon set all points. And in here, we want to make it match the size of our button. So it's stretched out to the size of our button. Then button.texture colon set texture. Like that. And in here, the simple thing we do now is just we call add-on. Or not add-on, sorry, icon. Because we got the icon from the loop. So now we have the icon. Yeah, the icon, yeah. Now we want a tab. Sorry, not a tab, but a tooltip on this. So what you gotta do is add since we have our handy dandy function here, you just write add tooltip and then button and the text you want. So here, well, that would be the name because then it says core. If it's core, defensive, it's defense. Next, we need to set the button to a script on click. So set script. And like before, on click is when we listen, and then we want a function like that, solve and command button. And then what we're gonna do here is we gotta add to do change text. So for now, I'll just make a to do here. We will add the tab. Don't worry. I just wanna like make the rest of this, and then we can do it. So button to show it now. Now we need to show our button to the world. So show, and at the last thing we add it to our Paragon System.ui. The buttons, the tab buttons, and inside here all you do is you say order dot name equals button. So now what you can do here, if you really wanted, is you could make it so you could also just change it to name. So let's actually do that. Let's follow the way we did up here. Just a bit easier, you know, to follow along here. So here, now you see inside the tab buttons, so inside our core script, we have the tab buttons here. That means when the code is running, it will add to this table. So it will add the name underscore tab button. So core underscore tab button, tab menu button, or defense underscore tab menu button. And it sets that to equals the button we just created. And it does this over and over again until there are no more menu buttons. So what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna copy the function up here, and then we need to call it. And so let's call it. So let's head in WoW. So now if I just write /reload now, and we open the or Paragon System, and you see we have the things up here. So I miscalculated something, but this is great because now you can like see how this actually would work. And I know what I did wrong. I am just dumb, and it's actually an easy fix. This is why sometimes it's just really confusing, but all you gotta do is set a minus here because we minus it. We want it to go down, not up. That's my bad. So all you do is just write reload again, and boom, your buttons are now added, but nothing happens when we click them, but they work. Like if you click them, it still sends it still goes in here, but we have nothing here. So okay, next thing we would probably want to do something along the lines of actually creating the tabs now. So we can go ahead and take a look at creating the tabs, which is a lot of code, so get ready for that. So let's just get started. So go down here or somewhere in your code and write function and Paragon System.UI.functions.create tabs. Creates all tabs. Okay, so this is gonna be a long one, so get ready. First off, we gotta loop over everything. So we gotta take our loop again, make a new loop, then go to 10 here, and we gotta replace the 10 with a code or a hashtag in Paragon System.data.tab button menu buttons, because we gotta loop over each tab menu button. And the reason we do that is because then the tab menu buttons have the ID for it, so that way we can use the same ID as I explained in the earlier part to like compare them, and then it knows where to put each upgrade. So that's why we do that. So now what we want to do is that we want to do a local tab data equals Paragon Paragon System.data.tab menu buttons I. Yeah. Now local tab menu tab ID equals tab data 1. So the reason I'm writing 1 here is to get the tab ID, and as I explained before, the reason we write a run 1 here is because we store the tab menu button we are at right now, and when I write 1, I'm basically getting this value, so the order or the ID or what you would call it. So let's just call this actually tab ID too. Yeah, let's just call it tab ID. Probably a bit easier to understand it then. So we keep the tab ID here. Next, we want to create that container we had inside the tab menu buttons. Oh, sorry, not the tab menu buttons, the tab buttons. So we would need to create our function for that. So we will go ahead and real quick do that. So I will just, I will go up to the top here and then we can edit it. So here, so function and Paragon, like before, Paragon System.UI.functions.create tab container. Okay, and we'll write tab ID as the argument. So now we create the container equals create frame, and here double quote frame, since it's a frame, Paragon tab container underscore tab ID, just to keep it as is. And then we want to anchor it to the Paragon System.UI.frames.mainframe, right? Next we want to do is the container. We want to set this container and we want to set all its points as we normally do to just fill out the whole Paragon frame. So we would do that this way. So just main frame like this. So now we have stretched it out and it fits on the whole frame, main frame, which is what it should do. Then on creation, you want to set this to height because we don't want this to be shown at the start. And we return the container we created. So a return statement is it's a nice statement you can use in programming. So a return statement, what it does is that when we call this function, what we can do is we can set it like we did here with this. So if we had a function where we return, just replace this with true or false, you could say state.menuOpen equals and then just this part, and then whatever it returns would be set into the value or the variable. So I will show you what I mean by that. So if we now go down back to our tabs here, what you're gonna see now is us utilizing it. So we would say local container, and then we just set it equals to paragon.ui.functions.create tab container, and we send tab ID with it, so it can create the tab with the tab ID. So now what this does is that it creates the tab, so the frame. It creates the frame or the tab container and puts it inside here. So now we have our container for the frame or the tab. Next, let's go ahead and then now we just created it and storing it in a temporary value or variable. So let's set it so we don't lose it. So tabs, correct, like that, and then you say tab ID dot, and we call the container equals container. That's it. Now we store the container inside the tab and its container. So doing this sets this. So let's say tab ID is 1 dot container. So what we are saying is 1. Okay, yeah, that's this one. Then 1 dot container. We get this container, and then we set it to be equals to the new one we just created. So now we actually made our container, and this will loop over twice because we only got 2 menu buttons. So it will create the menu containers or the containers for the tabs. Next, what you want to do is just go local window data, or you know what? Let's call this something else. Tab entries. Yes, equals to Paragon System dot data dot tabs, and if we put in tab ID dot entries. So what we're doing right now is that we are storing. So we remember this is still a table with all our upgrades in it. So what we're doing is, if we again say tab ID is 1, we basically go into 1, then go into entries, and we copy the entries, and we get all of these. Then we use what is called we first check if the tab entries even exist. So if it's nil, then it won't do this. And we write an else, so we will just like print tables on nil, like that, just a debugging function. And that's basically all we need to do for the else statement. So here, since it's true, or not true, like since it's valid and it's not nil, so it has entries inside it, we wanna do a for each loop, or for in pairs. So let's do that. For pairs. So what we wanna call this is the entry key, and then entry data. And what we want to go through is again the tab entries. So what this does is that when you go over this, it's basically doing the same as this one, but the way this one works is that it goes by the entry key, which is this one will always be the entry key, and then the value is all the things in here, so you can access all of this. But you can always just go for the key and then just get everything that way. Or the entry data, sorry. So here, let's get started. Here comes all the long code. So local tab entry. So we create our new tab entry here, because we are still creating the tabs. So this would be the UI part of the tab, or we are basically creating the UI part for the tabs. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna like do real fast. I will just do like a ton of these duplicated because we need a bunch of tab entries. And then we say, and this is again important that you keep the name in correct and the same dot. And what we gotta do now is that we gotta say tab entry, or actually, sorry, my bad, dot tab item frame equals create frame, and we give it frame as the name, and then we say entry data because we can as well use it when we can do it. Dot tab item frame comma container, because we wanna put it inside the container. Or yeah, we wanna put it inside the container. So yeah, we are creating it that way. Next, we wanna, again, since we just did the item frame, I'll do dot tab item icon equals create frame. I'm just gonna like set up everything first here, and then we will head over and like do some more like add in all the other stuff that needs here. So entry data to get the name again, to have the name of it. If I could spell tab item icon contain. Next. So next thing is the, what is it called? The text. So let me just, so the tab item name text equals create, oh sorry, equals tab entry dot tab item frame, because it's the frame of the tab item we are creating. Create font string, and in here you again write null, comma, overlay like we did with the tile, and game font normal small. I find small to be better for stuff like the names. Next, we write the increase per point. So I will just head here over here, just copy. It's just a bit faster than writing it all. So copy tab item increase per point equals, and what should that be? Equals to tab entry dot tab item frame colon create font string again, and we again say nil comma overlay comma game font normal small, and say dot again. And next thing we go over, we get the last two things here. We get the points added text. and we again set it to tab entry dot tab entry dot tab item frame colon create font string null comma overlay comma game font double quotes game font normal small duplicated just to make it a bit easier now for the next thing we need. Because, or was that all? Yeah, that was, oh, well, great. So the last thing we actually need is just making the tab, or not, sorry, the button, that's what it's called. Let's go over and copy that. So tab in item increase button equals create frame button, since it's a button we are creating, colon, oh, comma, sorry, entry data dot name dot equal double quotes tab underscore tab item increase button, and then colon or comma, sorry, not colon, tab entry dot tab item frame comma UI parent button template. Great. Now we have added all of the things we will need. Now we need to customize them to actually be set up to work and use all the things we should do. So let me real fast go through this, and then I think the video has also been too long, maybe just a bit too long. So let's start. Tab entry, and we start at the tab item frame. So tab entry dot tab item frame set size and set size. What do you want the size to be? Well, let's actually real quick head over into our config again, or our core and then the configs, because we want to add a size down here. So Paragon underscore tab underscore item underscore size equals new table, so empty table, and then width equals, what should we say, 375, and height is equals to 75. Yes, perfect. Let's go back. Let's in size config dot paragon tab item size dot width, and then config dot paragon tab item size dot height again. So now we have the height and the size of the button. No, sorry, not button, the frame. Sorry, I get a little confused when doing longer videos. So tab entry dot tab item frame again, colon, set point. We want it to be like in the center, but at the, like it should start at the top, but in the center of the container frame or container tab. So we will run a right top, comma, container, comma, top again. Yeah, sorry, yeah, top, and yeah, that's correct. And 0, and then minus 65 times entry data dot dot, what was it again? Let me look back real quick. Entry data tabs entry, and it would be the order. Yep, that's my bad, the order. And reason we do this is because that way it knows like to move it every time the order is higher. it times it by 65 and it moves down a bit every single one. Next is again tab entry dot tab item frame colon, or not tab entry, yeah, entry tab entry dot tab item frame dot texture. We want to set texture here, set all points, and inside here we say tab entries, oh no, not entries dot tab entry dot tab item frame. Oh no, that's me again. I mean, we do the tab entry dot tab item frame dot texture equals tab entry dot tab item frame colon create texture. That's my bad. We first need to create the texture, and then we do the thing we just wrote, which is tab entry, tab item frame, texture, set all points, and then tab entry dot tab item frame. Next is the tab. We do the same thing with the tab entry dot tab item frame dot texture. And instead of the set all points, we just changed it to set texture. And in here, all you do is entry data dot icon. Now we have the first frame, or not icon. What I'm talking about. Now is where we actually add in the border from our client file. So that's Paragon System / large button border. So now we just got done with the frame. So that works now. I think I will cut this video up in two. So right now we have the frame, and next video we'll complete all this creation of the tab. So see you in the next one.